welcome, Farewell fans. And once again, I have brought something unique and beneficial for your listening ears. Now, as always, I try to bring the best interviews, the best interviewees, the best experts, the wealth of information that you might not get anywhere else. So today, I have Deborah here with me, and we're about to talk about some of the most interesting things that you may not have thought of. Deborah, can you just tell the Farewell fans a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. I live in Manhattan, and you would think that I would be cranky or maybe difficult, ornery, but no, I am a positive energy expert, happiness expert, mindset coach, and I really like to help people get unstuck. I used to be a very successful sales rep for an iconic brand in pharma. And before that, I had my own design and licensing business, each for good chunks of time. And I think it's so wonderful to try different things in life to learn and grow. And we're going to be talking, I know, a lot about learning and growing and
Yes.
not being fearful, taking challenges, enjoying life.
Yes. And I'm glad you mentioned that, enjoying life. And I recently just seen a very interesting statement that said that comfort is the enemy of growth. Get uncomfortable. And as all the Farewell fans know, we definitely promote growth in so many different facets: mental, emotional, physical, just all levels of growth. Now, talking about that now, Deborah, you have a book coming out, right? And I want to kind of talk about the book a little bit, just to get them an idea of, what to look for when this book drops.
And actually, the great thing is it's now available on
Oh,
Amazon.
okay,
So isn't that exciting?
okay.
Yeah. Woo-hoo.
Okay, so a book is good. Tell them a little bit about the book.
It's called, and you can see it in back of me here, 6 Steps to Fewer Days That Suck.
Yes.
And it's actually not a chapter book. It's not a personal growth book or self-help book that yells at you. It's actually a warm hug that feeds your soul. It's double pages of all the things that we all feel, like walk away from negativity, release the toxic, perfection, happiness. Every double page has a different topic that makes a commitment. It's positive. It's all positive. It has a quote that you can take with you.
Mm-hmm.
It has questions and answers and solutions that you could think about, visuals that when you're having a challenging time, you can see in your mind. It has action items, things you can actually do in the moment,
Okay.
and even a mantra you can say and tips. And at the end of each step, there's a line page for aha moments and a summation. So it's really a workbook that actually helps you figure out how to put aside the negative and tap into your positive energy. Let go of the worry and the fear and all the things, the negative self-talk that we develop, and just enjoy our lives. And there's a little bit of science in there, very simple, to
Mm-hmm.
be able to understand why we do things. Because when we understand why we do things, that's when we can change, M&G. Don't you agree?
I do agree. And that falls under self-awareness, is knowing what your triggers are, knowing the things
Yes.
that will put you in a bad mood, and knowing the things that will get you out of a bad mood.
Yes.
And for everybody, it's different. And some people may not realize what their triggers are in the moment. Now, and it's okay not to know what your triggers are. It's sometimes it takes people a long time to figure out what their triggers are. You know,
Right.
one of the things I learned, that And it was a trigger for me with my son is that I didn't like him being sad. And in order to help him get out of sadness, I would buy him something or take him to the movies. But what I was showing him is that, when you're feeling down or you're feeling sad, go spend money or go treat yourself and ignore the feeling, because we didn't talk about the
Ah.
emotion behind it. We didn't talk about the trigger, but we didn't talk about the event. We didn't talk about the emotion and the mental status behind what happening. We just kind of masked it by
Mhm.
developing a trigger for spending habits. You get
Mhm.
sad, you get triggered, you go spend money, you feel better, and you never actually deal with the actual emotion and the mental status at that point in time of what you were going through.
Yeah, it's true. We need to acknowledge what it is that, and you mentioned triggers, and recognize why we do things, and a little bit of the science behind that too is when our brains like patterns.
Mm-hmm.
They relate to patterns, and the more we develop positive patterns, the more those patterns will stick. And
Right.
and being aware, as you said, and honest with yourself. And it's easier as we get older because we have
Yeah.
perspective. Young children don't have the perspective that adults, and as we age, we gain more wisdom, I want to say.
Yes.
But actually helping your children be compassionate towards themselves,
Mm.
love themselves. That's not a bad thing, because when you like yourself, when you appreciate yourself, when you find the good in yourself, that's when you build confidence, you build the resilience muscle, and you also engage with that positive energy, and that too helps children be able to cope with feeling low, or when we get angry, we learn to be able to recognize and feel good about themselves. That's why I'm such a big promoter of self kindness. And my goal is to help children and teens build that kindness and self esteem, because that's when we are able to cope better, because we appreciate ourselves, because we value ourselves. And
Mm.
it's very important, self worth. And that's what you're trying, I'm sure, now to develop within your children, is that sense of self-worth, so they can cope better with challenging times and respect themselves.
I agree. Now, speaking of, self worth, self love, self aware, and being able to teach kids that. But speaking to the adults of the room, what are a few things that we can start doing to change our negative habits into more positive habits?
So we talked about recognizing and acknowledging what's going on,
Hmm.
because when you recognize, and especially it goes back to also negativity bias, which simply stated is goes back to early humans, to the cavemen. And we don't have the fears they have now. But what stayed with us is our brains tend to remember the negative events, the negative information over positive information. And I mentioned creating positive habits that stick. So our brains like patterns. So recognizing that, and then recognizing when these negative habits creep in, that what you can do, one, and I love to say this, is because it's reshaping our thoughts and reframing our perspective,
Right.
is flipping the script.
Mm.
Just think of that visual, flip that script. And when you're about to say I suck, or I messed up again, I'm just really not good, you find all those negative things about ourselves, it's that negative talk track. Stop it and say, I'm going to say something positive. And when I say to myself, I love learning something new. You know what? So today isn't great, but tomorrow will be better. You come up with a positive phrase to say. And again, the other thing is keep it simple and remember that we need to celebrate ourselves. We need to celebrate our accomplishments. We need to be patient with ourselves. And if something isn't going your way, rather than getting mad at yourself or getting angry or lashing out, that whole sense of feeling insecure or needing that validation, validate yourself. Say something kind to yourself, a positive affirmation, and then you can distract yourself, do something else, whether you can take a walk or look at pictures in your phone. This is such a good trick to do. It's not a trick, it's just a wonderful way to retrieve an uplifting experience. It's retrieving that memory from your happiness bank. It's
Mhm.
proven by science when we relive happy memories,
Yeah.
it boosts our endorphins. So look in your phone, see a happy memory. It's just a way of distraction. Let the negative go and feel good. Allow yourself, give yourself permission to feel good. I call that self care. And you know what? Also, give yourself a hug now and again,
Yeah.
even every day, because when we hug ourselves, when we appreciate ourselves, we feel better, we do better, we're kinder, and it's really benefiting us and those around us, our loved ones. We owe it to them to
Mhm.
be kind to them, not to lash out. So it works on many levels, not just with ourselves, but those people around us too.
Now, I like to add to that. I like what you
Well,
said
good.
by saying good things and positive things to yourself. Because I was recently looking at like this reel. It was like a seminar webinar, and this guy was saying that your mind doesn't register don't or can't. And anytime you tell yourself, don't think about that, what do your mind do? Your mind intends to think about it.
Exactly.
Now, I used to work at this job and I was a supervisor. And during the time that I was a supervisor, it wasn't I don't want anybody to think that the environment was toxic because the environment wasn't toxic. You just
Mm.
have toxic people. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So when you have toxic individuals, and I will speak briefly to this one situation, and this will highlight your point of how saying positive things can alter how the day looks, also how you feel. Okay, so there was a person that I supervised, and for some reason they just had this big issue with me, and I spent time and time again to try to resolve this issue with this particular individual, but they didn't seem to, grasp the concept that I was not out to get them. Their
Right.
murder's not mine. So because every time I had to go in here, it was almost as a constant proof that I had, a constant exhibition of having to prove myself over and over and over again. I'm here to do a job. I have 13 other employees that have concerns, that have work performances, that have issues at home, that want to talk. Because as they tell you, when you are a supervisor, you are a parent, you are a coach, you you wear a lot of different hats for a lot of different employees because it's a lot of different personalities you have to deal with. Some people
Yes.
have lows, they have highs, and everything. So I developed this mantra. Every morning I park my car. I will sit in the car for an additional 10, 15 minutes. And I will go into the meditative state. And then I would just recite this mantra over and over and over again. And I would inhale positivity and I would exhale negativity. Okay. And this is what I did every day in the car for at least 10 to 15 minutes. I would go into a meditative state and I would, as I breathe in, I breathe in positivity and I exhale negativity. And when I did that, my days were so much better
Mhm.
after doing that. And I don't know if people understand the type of energy that they walk around with.
Yes.
And you have to cleanse yourself of that negative energy. And it's not negative energy that you bring about yourself all the time. It's just negative energy that people just, they kind of, when they offload their issues onto you, is negativity. When they speak negative to you, that's negative energy, and you have to rid yourself of that negative. So you have to inhale that positive energy, claim it as positive energy, and exhale that negative energy, because you're breathing in that fresh air, and that fresh air is good for the body, and then you're exhaling bad air, which that goes back out into the universe and just spill, or it goes somewhere else. But you got to get it out of you. And from doing, I kid you not, and I stand by this 100%. And anybody can go out there and do it. And you could message me to prove me wrong. But if you spend 10 to 15 minutes before work, and you do it, you do the breathing technique where you inhale and you say that you're inhaling positive energy and you're exhaling negative energy, and tell me, do it for a week, and tell me if your day does not get better. That's the only way you'll call me a liar. But I will stand by that. And I did it for months on end, and every day was better than the next. And it's not, and sometimes you get beat down sometimes, but it's not as bad as a beat down. It's when you don't do the mantra. It's not as bad as beat down as you don't do the mantra. So when you do it, it feels good, it feels great. And then you move on from there. It just feels like a weight is lifted off of your shoulders when you do that. And that's my personal experience.
And you're also valuing yourself. And it's so important to do that too. I do something similar in the morning when I wake up, because science proves that in the morning when we wake, there's a cortisol, the stress hormone, there's a cortisol spike, has nothing to do with us. And that's when those negative emotions, the anxiety, all of that comes and bubbles up. So what I do is every morning I smile. Just try it. Smiling, just the nature of turning up your lips makes you feel good. It's proven to boost those endorphins. And then what you were saying about the breathing, the positive energy and releasing the negative, I say a positive affirmation. You said a positive mantra, a positive affirmation.
Yeah.
And I say that while smiling, like, today's going to be a great day. I bring positive energy. Whatever it is that's positive, it's so important to do that and focus on positive things first thing in the morning. Also, rather than worrying about all those things, because 91% of what we worry about, a Penn State study shows this. Researchers actually prove this. 91% of what we worry about never happens.
Yeah.
So why waste your time on things that aren't going to serve you, that aren't going to benefit you? So I applaud what you did in your car, because it's all about giving yourself confidence, believing in yourself, to get yourself unstuck and away from that negative energy, because other people, that's what they do. We can't control what other people do, but we can, as you did, control what we do, our actions, our thoughts, and our emotions. And honestly, it's making, and that's the first step in my book, it's making the decision to do it. And it's our mindset. So I applaud what you did. It's just everybody should really think about what they're doing before they do it. Pause and reflect before you go down a rabbit hole, and stop yourself and create those positive patterns that will stick. It will serve you. You'll have a happier life. And
I
that's what you
agree.
did.
And I believe that just that one daily habit, it doesn't have to be, really big. Some people think that you need something big to make a difference in your life. And you don't need anything big to make a difference in your life. You need just one small action that can make a difference in your life. That is not, it becomes pivotal. It becomes pivotal. It becomes a difference maker as time goes on. but it may not happen right then and there, but it will happen. And I think that's what people have to understand is that when you make those small changes, you know,
Yes.
it becomes a big change later on. Like
Yes.
you, so a river doesn't really become a river until after thousands of years. It starts with a drip, it starts with a drop, it starts with a trickle, it starts with just a small stream, and then eventually, after it erodes and makes its own path, it turns into a river. You know, but it starts out small, even though you don't see it as it starts out because it takes lifetimes to do. Just that small change, just that little mantra early in the morning, or smiling early in the morning, or anything, um, as small as it is, as time goes on, it makes big changes
Mhm.
because it is consistent. It's the consistency of it. As long as you're consistent in your mantra, consistent in your habits. If you could consistently go every morning to Starbucks and get you a latte,
Right.
get you a mocha, get you a, you know, oat milk with light ice, and fat-free cream. You could do all that every morning. Then you can definitely wake up, give yourself a mantra, and do that mantra every day, just like you developed a habit to go to Starbucks and get this customized coffee that you buy every day for $3.15. You, you can do that every day. And
And it'll serve you better.
it will serve you better. And it costs you nothing. Nothing. It's your mental health. It is your well-being.
Yes.
It is your emotional state. It is all of that, and it costs you nothing to speak to yourself in a positive manner to make a monumental change over time with a little action. Just a little action.
It's so you said it so concisely and perfectly, and small changes make a big impact over time. And we have to remember that, and we have to care for ourselves because honestly, we can do it, but it's creating the mindset within ourselves to change our thinking, to reshape our thoughts. And we're doing this. Who are we doing this for? We're
Right.
doing this for us.
Mhm.
So, why wouldn't you want to make your life easier, better, happier? Because it's over in a flash. Even
Yes.
if it feels like it goes forever, it's over quickly. And then so many people, when they're on their deathbed, they say, why did I overcomplicate everything? Why did I make it difficult? Why didn't I do this? Because you spent all the time worrying and being self critical and putting yourself down and all that, that you never had time or faith in yourself that you could do what maybe your dreams were and accomplish them. And when we accomplish things in our lives, that gives us pride. That builds the confidence. But we have to put everything else aside, all the negative, in order to be able to go after the things that are going to build confidence, build our resilience, and add more positive energy into our day.
Yeah.
And I just feel so badly for people that are stuck because I was that way. And I
Mhm.
worked through it. And I wrote this book for me. It was my guidebook, 6 Steps to Fewer Days That Suck. My brand is called The Daily Decisions. It's all about making those, as MNG said, those small decisions, little decisions each day lead to big changes over time. And that's what we're talking about because we love everybody listening. We want everybody to get off their hamster wheels and stop making themselves feel less than and making them feel good about themselves because I like to say we are who we think we are. You want to think you're wonderful? You're wonderful. And we know people like that. They walk around like they own the world. And then
They
if you
do.
want to think you suck, well, That's what you carry. So you got to carry the confidence, build it, build resilience, invite in positive energy, and get rid of the negative people in your life. Yes, it might be hard to do, but clean house. It's not serving you. It's all about what serves us will help others too.
Now,
Yeah.
I'm glad you said get rid of negative people. So
Yeah.
I have a story for that.
Oh, good. I'm all ears.
So when I graduated college,
Uh-huh.
for the second time, because I walked for my associate's degree, which was my mother's request, not mine. And she wanted me to walk again for my bachelor's degree, her request, not mine. So, because I was going to walk for my bachelor's, but not my associates, but my mom wanted me to walk for both. So
Oh,
when I
okay.
walked for my bachelor's degree, a friend of mine, he wanted to go to E3, which is this big gaming conference that they used to have either in Las Vegas or California. It was only one or
Oh,
two places, and they hosted it every year. And prior to COVID, and this was prior to COVID. So, so he had told me, he had called me and said, "Hey, E3 is on this particular weekend. We should go." And I started thinking, and I was like, all right, cool. And I was excited to go. And then when I realized what the day was, I said, well, that's my graduation. So I'm not going to be able to go, because my mom wanted me to walk, and it was important for her to see me walk for my bachelor. And the guy said, "If your graduation, is that more important than E3?" And I said, "Yes, it's more important than E3 because my mom wants to see me walk." And uh, I'm not going to give up something that's important to her to go to this gaming conference and everything. So that was one of a few instances that this particular person has said something negative about something in my life. And eventually I had to let this friend go.
yeah.
I had to let this friend go. And, there's a few other things that they had did, a few other things that they had said. And it just didn't make for a good friend. As we had talked, prior to recording, there's there between criticism and and being critical of a person, or and being and giving a critique. So
Right.
so criticism and critique, you giving a critique is, hey, these are some things I see. These are some things you
It's
can improve.
positive.
Yeah. But then when you have this criticism, it's
Yeah.
just on negative. There's no
Yeah.
positivity behind it. And I received a lot of criticism from him on a lot of things, even though I was giving him positive things to kind of just think about and feed on. His negativity, and I can't think of the word, but his negativity is one of the things that just kind of drowned him in his whole life. Like every conversation was negative, every conversation was drowning. And, if you have friends like that, or people in your circle that are like that, they ain't even got to be friends. They could just be associates, they could be coworkers. But if you have people that are around you that associate with you in some fashion, and it's just all negative and passive aggressive energy, you know, in order to feel good about yourself, and in some cases tend to get ahead in the world, you got to get rid of the negative people, because they will hold you back. They are dream killers. They will destroy your dreams. And it's not intentional on their part. It's just who they are, and they can't see beyond their own negativity. They can't see beyond their own selfish mindset. Pessimistic. That's the word I was looking for. They're pessimistic in a way where they just can't see. They can't see beyond that. And that's energy that's just put off on you, and it brings you down. You tell them about a dream or a success, and they throw negativity on it, and they talk down on it, or they try to downplay it like it's not that great. Just like my graduation, forget your graduation. Why is that so much more important than going to this gaming conference? A one in a lifetime thing that they have every year, but a one in a lifetime achievement that
Yes.
only happens once you accomplish this level. And you could accomplish the level again, but all the work you had to go through to accomplish it again. Okay. Yes, that's more important. That's an achievement. Going to this gaming conference it's not an achievement. It's a thrill. It's entertainment. It's fun, and that's it. So when you come across people like that, yes, you definitely have to, I ain't gonna say rid them, but distance yourself from them, and then eventually they'll just fade away. Eventually they'll fade away.
It really is. It's harder when it's family members, but we need to do that. We need to set priorities for ourselves. What's important? I say often, if something negative creeps into my mind, I go, what's really important? What matters? And what really matters, that you have a nice life, that you enjoy, that you can enjoy the people around you, your family. That's what matters. Your health matters. But so many little things really don't. And we make mountains out of molehills, and we need to set priorities. People in our lives, our thoughts, what we want to accomplish, all those things we really need to make a list, post it somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
post what's important. I tend to do that on my fridge. I I make simple lists, nothing that's going to take a lot of time, something that just takes a few minutes to either type up or write down, because when we tend to put too much energy onto you have to do this or you have to do that, we tend to procrastinate and we don't do it. So I like to start something, I don't think about it, I just start it, and I don't make excuses, and get it done. Get a list done of what matters to you and review that list. It will serve you well, because people that don't lift you up, people that don't respect you or respect the fact that, yes, your major accomplishment, you graduated from college, and your parents want to celebrate it, because we need to celebrate those happy moments. That builds confidence. And list those things so that you focus on them. And then those visuals will come to your mind when you're faced with these negative, toxic, non productive
Non-productive.
situations.
Definitely not productive. Definitely not productive.
Because that's what we want out of life. I mean, that's why perfection, I had to work on my perfectionism, because it's just a matter of getting things done, not dwelling on things, not dwelling on negative, but taking responsibility for yourself and not putting yourself down, being accountable for your actions, making positive habits. I keep going back to that, because we're the ones that are responsible, accountable for our best lives. And why shouldn't we live our best lives? We really need to say that to ourselves. We're doing this for ourselves. Be positive, feel good about yourself, do things, surround yourself with people that will help you do this.
That is true, and I will say
Yeah.
that you are absolutely right. We have to hold ourselves accountable. We have to self-aware. We have to self-assess
Yes.
and self-love.
Self-love.
And
Hug.
I'll say this, and then we'll move on. But
No, I love this. It's so important.
it is, and the reason why that um you know I am living proof of this whole conversation. I am living proof of this whole conversation from being a very pessimistic person, being a person that did not want to leave the house for anything outside of grocery shopping and going to work. Not really want to deal with family members, not want to go to any events that they were hosting or anything, and really kind of not relishing in the negativity, but just being solo. It's just like, no, I don't want to do that. You know, something may go wrong. I always hear about this on the news, and just living by those mindsets of, well, you know, if I do go, then something may happen because, you know, something happened at the last club and, you know, that may happen again. Or if I go to the house party, yeah, it'd be a lot of fights that happen at house parties. I don't think I want to go to house parties. And again, back to your statement that you start to think that stuff is going to happen and nothing ever really happens
The
because
worry.
you already count yourself out. That was me. That was me. And I took on the challenge to myself because I heard this statement. Nothing good ever comes from sitting in a house.
Hmm.
And it sticks with me. It sticks with me and it is ingrained in my DNA that I do not sit in this house for too long because nothing good ever happens from being in a house. And I took this venture and Farewell fans and fans alike, I'm going to tell you, when I took this pledge, this oath to myself, and for 1 year, I said yes to everything. There's not one event, there's not one invite that I turned down, and I went by myself. I didn't have no crew with me. I ain't had no friends with me. Do you know that was the best year that I've had? I met new people. I seen new places. I did a lot of things that I was skeptical and afraid to do based on other people's experiences, based on the things that I seen in the news, based on things that I heard word of mouth about particular event, type of events and everything. And from there, you know, I developed a extroverted self that if you send me an invite, more than likely I'm showing up. You know, I
Wonderful.
had to be dead tired not to show up, but I'm showing up. And now, even to today, majority of my weekends is filled with people just inviting me to stuff. Hey, do you want to come here? Hey, do you? And I'm looking. It gets so bad that some of my events overlap each other. But I have a good time going. I meet new people. I mean, there's so much in life to experience, and it is all positive if you look at it correctly. Have I been places where they broke out in a fight? Yeah, I have. But out of the 100 times that I've been out, it maybe only happened 1 or 2 times.
There you go.
And somebody would think, man, you've been out 100 times. I bet you was a fight at every last one. No, it was 1 or 2 out of 100 events. I may have seen 1 or 2 fights, maybe 3 in a possible that could have happened or that have happened. And once it was over and done with, it was fine. You know, it wasn't as bad as people thought and everything. And then it also comes down to just knowing the area that you're in or know the area that you're at. Like if you know you're in a bad neighborhood, then, you know, uh, you know, I always went places with caution, not without caution. So just to
Because
say,
you're aware.
yeah, you're aware. So
You
yes,
said that.
was I very pessimistic? I was. I'm very pessimistic. You know, living in my own world. But then as I started to open up to other things, like life became so much brighter and so much fuller. Like and started having so much more fun. Like I don't know how people can live in such a fashion to believe that just going out and being places is disastrous or destructive or whatever they believe it is. But I urge people to come out of that. I urge people to come out of that.
And you know what is so interesting too, proven by science, is that anticipation. So you know you have all these events coming up. And it boosts your endorphins, that whole idea of anticipation, of looking forward to something
Yes.
makes us feel good too. We have something to actually look forward to, something that we could use as a reward, even. We have to get something done. So we do that before we can go and enjoy the moment. So we can use everything you did in such a positive way to help ourselves, to boost our endorphins, and to get work done that maybe we don't want to do because it becomes even a reward. To me, I call this an abundance mindset, is just believing all the good out there for you, as opposed to what they call the scarcity mindset, when you think, nothing's good for me, it's not going to work out. It's how we actually approach our lives. And your way, and building anticipation and enjoying the moments and boosting your endorphins because you're having a good time and laughing and smiling, that only, again, I use that word, it only serves you well. It helps your well-being, your overall inner peace and happiness. And it creates those memories that we can pull from our happiness bank to offset the negativity bias and the negative thoughts. So doing all of that is creating that positive energy and creating positive patterns that stick. And I know I keep coming back to that, but sometimes we need to hear things a few times over. That's my sales. In sales, we had to say things 7, 8, 9 times before they said that people would listen. But it's really true. We all need to hear it in multiple different ways in order to embrace it and make it our own and go ahead and try it. Because this discussion that I'm having with M&G is really to benefit. I want it to benefit all of you so that you get unstuck, so that you enjoy your life more. And if you're doing that already, I
Yeah,
applaud you.
yeah. And for those that are not, I would urge you to make that change. No, just a small change, just a small step to turn it all around. You know, um, and as Ember said, a lot of this information is backed by science. Like this is true to nature. You know, you don't have to live in the mindset that you live in because it feels comfortable. Sometimes you have to be uncomfortable to grow. You have to be uncomfortable to grow. I seen this one phrase that said, comfort is living inside of your comfort zone. And sometimes in order to go forward, you got to be uncomfortable and get to and be in an uncomfortable space. And every time I moved into an uncomfortable space, I grew a little bit. I learned a little bit more. And it has always created another path or another avenue to a different task, to a different opportunity, has opened a new door. But even with job opportunity, if somebody brings you the job opportunity, but you're comfortable in the job that you're in, you could start asking yourself, are you really growing in that position? Are you expanding in that position? What have you learned new in the last 6 months that will give you a new skill to move to the next position with?
It's true.
Like if you're not growing in a position you're in and you're just doing the same thing over and over again and you're stagnant, then maybe you have reached the you have reached the limits that you are for that position. And if that's where you're comfortable and you want to stay there, that's fine. But for those that want to go beyond there, you gotta be very uncomfortable in order to grow. Because I've seen people adapt when their back is against the wall. And they break the wall down and then they move forward because now they're in an uncomfortable area and now they're growing into that new space.
It's so true. And that's why within the double pages of my book, there's these little stories. Picture this, about people, whatever the topic is, about people who actually did exactly what you said. They got out of their comfort zone, which I think a comfort zone really isn't comfortable because we're not happy in that comfort zone. We're many times miserable with the negativity and everything. So why don't we learn and grow? And you know what, M&G? I don't like the word failure. I don't use the word failure.
Okay.
I call it education and growth,
Okay.
because failure has a negative connotation, but honestly, how how many times do we do things 100% the first time out of the gate? We don't. It takes trial and error. It takes figuring things out and making mistakes. Actually, I think many times are opportunities in disguise, because what we learn is we grow, like you were talking about. We take steps and challenges and we move beyond. And with that comes that sense of confidence in ourselves that we can do difficult things, that we can do new things. We become resilient. We become more positive by taking chances. I'm not talking about taking crazy risks that could jeopardize you. I'm just talking about challenging yourself. That's what M&G is talking about, challenging yourself to do things that maybe you think you couldn't do. But why not? Why not strive to reach your maximum potential? Human beings have so much potential. I like to say we all are a gift. We all have the ability to do so many things. Each of us are different. We each have our own superpowers. And why not figure that out? Find your fit. Find what works for you. Grow, develop, be proud of yourself. You'll build confidence, resilience, and you will become more positive by doing that. You'll believe in yourself. You'll value yourself more because you see what you can really do.
That's true. That's true. Just to give a little bit more insight to your book, because I know a lot of the things that we have talked about, is somewhere along the lines of these of the 6 steps. Can you give them like the first 2 to 3 steps in the book for less suckier days?
Let's sucker. Well, within each of the 6 steps, the steps are, and I know you said 2 or 3, but
Yeah.
it's really quick
Okay.
because there's only 6. And it's the first one is making the decision, right? We have to make the decision that we're going to change, that we're going to do this for us
Right.
and for those that we love. Number 2, ditch those bad habits,
Mm. Yep.
because remember, we're going to create positive habits. We've been talking about this. And yes, we've been talking about all of this. It's all in the book, but in little stories and things that can help you do it more with instant gratification, no sermons, no fluff. It just gets to the point,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially in a double page. You got to get to the point. And then the next, after ditch bad habits, you have the mindset. We talked about that. Our mindset has to reflect who we want to be, who we want to become, the positive person, the confident person that's really within us,
Right.
not worrying about other people judging us. Other people are just too busy worrying about their own lives. They're really not thinking about your life. So just let it go. What people
Mm-hmm.
think or what they think, but be confident within yourself to believe in yourself. That's the mindset. And then we have the action. We need to take action and actually put this into motion and reflect before we react and we take action. That's really important, and that's in there too. And then the fifth is the attitude, which is different than the mindset. The attitude, how you're going to think more positively than negatively. Get rid of the fear and all the things that hold you back. A little bit of fear, it's good. It's good to protect yourself. I'm not talking about doing crazy stuff. I'm talking about feeding your positive energy. That's
Yeah.
in context what I'm talking about. And then number 6, which comes full circle with the decision, is you got to make the commitment. Step 6 is the commitment to actually follow through on all these things we talked about in the book and actually work each day to make it happen. And is it easy? I'm going to tell you, no. Life is messy. Bad things happen in life. Things that we can't control, death and very sickness and sad circumstances, but it's how we react to them. And that's what this book is about, helping us think about how we're going to react rather than getting angry or lashing out at people or being mean to ourselves, that inner critic. Is we want to find ways to enjoy more and worry less, make life easier, and be able to cope with the difficult things in our lives. And I just want everybody really to think about it, because you deserve your best life. Why wouldn't you? But you have to work on it. It doesn't happen because you snap your fingers or you wave a magic wand. It
Mm-hmm.
takes effort and determination and loving yourself enough
Yes.
to do it. Self-worth. Honor your value and defend your dignity. And these are the mantras that I have in the book to be able to say to yourself, because when you honor your value and defend your dignity and you say it, you feel it. You're not going to let other people get in your face and bring you down.
Right.
No, stop it now.
You're absolutely right. So, Deborah, thank you for coming onto the show. Like, I am like overwhelmed with happiness right now
Good.
because
Yay.
this one definitely hit
Can
home.
I
And
do this? Can I just,
it,
I'm sorry. I want to put in a sun crown. And I'm so glad you're so happy, because I want to bring the sunshine, and we all have to bring the sunshine each day, because we have to do it for ourselves. And now please conclude. I'm so sorry. I just want to add humor.
it's quite all right. But this will definitely hit home because thinking about my past and where I came from and where we are now, and thinking about your book and the benefit it's going to have for so many people.
Thank you.
Is there any last things that you would want to say to the Farewell fans, just to give them some more positivity, to face the darkness and walk into the light? Anything?
I think we've said it all, because it really comes down to believing in yourself, valuing yourself, hugging yourself every day, and just reflecting before you react
Mhm.
rather than getting angry or lashing out at people. It's really important to be kind, and when you're self-kind, I like to call it personally considerate,
Mhm.
because so many times we're not.
Yeah.
When we are, that leads to happier days. People that are kinder to themselves are more likely kinder to other people. And we need to be kind to each other, and we need to be kind to ourselves. And if this is okay, I say, if you visit my website, thedailydecisions.com/inspire, you can join my Positive Energy Club and download happiness worksheet, motivational checklist, feel good activities, things that you can do to make yourselves feel good. They're companions to my book, 6 Steps to Fewer Days That Suck, but they stand alone too, because we need to figure out ways to make ourselves feel good and get unstuck.
Thank you. Well, Farewell fans, another great interview. We will see y'all on the next go around. Peace.